Byron, the Vorlons changed me. More than you could possibly know. I don't know what it'll do once you get past my barriers and I get past yours. It could burn you.
Then let it burn. It was the Vorlons.
Yes.
They created telepaths on 100 worlds. Interfered with their genetic development. Took people from their homeworlds and adjusted them over the course of the centuries.
Yes.
Because they needed telepaths in their war against the shadows.
Dr. Franklin and the telepaths discover two disturbing secrets.
You must have known I'd stumble onto this.
Watch an all-new Babylon 5 next Wednesday at 10 on TNT.
You have transmissions holding.
Patch incoming signal. Full audio and video decode.
Purple files accessed.
What you are about to see has never been shown to anyone outside the Great Council.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast, a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We are here to watch episode 7 of season 5, Secrets of the Soul. We have with us newbies who are watching for the very first time and first ones who are watching for the umpteenth time. And we are excited to talk about some sexy time here today.
We are not excited.
Not a single person here is excited about that except you fucking weirdos.
I'm Scott, and with me is
Blake,
Justin,
Nicole,
Emily, Jessi,
and Kevin.
Before we go down this tortured path, reminder to check all the links down below. We have all our social medias listed. We're active on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, we do have a Discord page. So if you want to join the Discord, all you have to do is become a member of our Patreon. Again, link down below. And a very special thank you to our producers who help with our donations of the highest amount every single month on Patreon. And I was having a conversation yesterday that I mentioned to Blake, and I'm not going to mention to anyone else, but the Patreon's going to come in handy a little bit here later on. So it's going to be fun. And finally, if you can, please like, subscribe, follow, and leave a review. Specifically, Apple review is very important to us. 5-star, if you please. And we got another one in here, guys, from Danapita. Danapita is from Australia. And they say, an enjoyable podcast. Thoroughly enjoyable listen. I love Babylon 5 since it first aired. This podcast has really made me think about why I like the show. I love the mix of personalities on the podcast and look forward to it every single week. Well, Danapita, we appreciate it, and good day.
Thank you.
Best Australian.
Hey, Danapita.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And actually,
One likes us.
I just looked it up, by the way. We're not really ranking high in Australia right now, but in New Zealand, But in New Zealand, we're the number 23 TV podcast. So
maybe we should get the Aussie back on and see if that boosts the ratings.
It usually does. It usually helps. He messages me at night as soon as we drop our podcast. It's a little fun thing where we drop our podcast at midnight Central every Wednesday, and Ryan is having lunch or close to it around that time. So he listens to us immediately. He probably is literally the first person in the world to listen to our podcast every week. And he has thoughts every time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He messages me anytime Scott fucks up.
Yeah. It's like, I get messages at like 12:10 a.m. my time, and he's like, "Hey, hey." I'm like, "Hi, you haven't even finished."
Hey, Ryan.
What's fun is when he sends me the messages and the screenshots anytime Scott fucks up.
Yeah, which has been twice in 2 weeks, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
I know. He's messaged me.
They've been fixed. Thanks, Ryan, for sharing with everybody my fuck ups. I appreciate it. I was gonna say you can find Ryan and his wife on their Babylon 5 podcast, Yum Yum, which actually they're done with B5. They've moved on to different things, but you can still check out their B5 rewatch on the Yum Yum podcast. But since Ryan is spreading all the rumors about my fuck ups, maybe I shouldn't say that. Oh wait, I already did.
And he talks shit about me on the Facebook page, so
he does. If you would like to talk shit about Jessi on the Facebook page, you too can just click that link down below.
We will beef. Me and Ryan has beef. Everybody else that wants to talk shit will have beef. Let's do it.
Well, and I just want to give a shout out to Ryan for answering my question like right away. So thank you, Ryan, about Corwin if he fucks.
Oh, Corwin fucks.
Ryan disagrees.
I know he does. Ryan's wrong.
In his post, he said canonically, because, it's all about the canon.
Well, I will say whoever posted the picture of him nowadays, damn, he fine. He's like a
Nicole will ensure he fucks.
Oh, I mean, look at him. If he doesn't, there's a problem.
Joshua Cox, if you don't fuck, Nicole would like to talk.
No, I'm a married lady, pretty much.
Pretty much. I love how you codified that.
I mean, we haven't had the ceremony yet, but we've been together over 10 years, so it's common law by now.
On that note, let's talk about people who do not have a common law. We have a synopsis from Emily for this lovely episode.
Yes, you do. Lyta and Byron have what may be the most awkward sex scene in TV history, during which it was revealed the Vorlon are behind the appearance of telepaths on every planet. This revelation destroyed Byron's false facade of being chill and nonviolent. He is now ready to seek vengeance against a group who is no longer within the Rim, so he'll be lashing out at the next closest group.
So Emily was so taken with the awkward sex scene and the post-coitus revolution that she's completely overlooking the whole genocide thing in this episode, right? We're just skipping past that and going straight to the post-coitus revolution.
Did that happen? What was that about?
I'm sorry that scene ruined my brain and I've forgotten everything else.
You also forgot that he hasn't said he wants to be violent.
Right.
He just says he wants a planet.
Oh, he had the look. He had the I'm gonna burn this shit to the ground look, okay?
He also had the abs.
Not as good as Jakar's apps, though.
This is true. I agree with this. He doesn't get the pink panties, no. Okay, let's go ahead. And since they've already started, let's get our first impressions from our newbies. And let's go to Justin first, because he's being quiet. Justin, first impressions on Secrets of the Soul.
Yeah, that episode happened. This was a good Franklin episode, actually. I kind of like to see him back in action. The one assistant for the scrotum head people, that was what was the character's name? Her voice sounds really familiar.
Kieran. I thought they had butts on the back of their head.
Almost Kieran.
I don't know. It looks like a ball sack to me, but anyway.
What is wrong with your ball sack that it looks like that?
I keep it nicely shaved.
Is it ribbed for your pleasure?
Yeah, no.
Kevin's like, why did I wake up?
You all know. You all know what happens to ball sacks when you hit your 40s.
There's nothing quite like a shorn scrotum. It's breathtaking. I suggest you try it.
What the
There's
fuck?
that. Look at Blake's face. This is what we were talking about on the last.
This is what we missed last week, bro.
Oh, the pleasure it brings is
fuck you all.
But anyway, her voice sounds really familiar, so I want to pick Kevin and y'all's brain about if I know that actress from somewhere. Yeah, we'll get to the whole creepy voyeurism coitus scene later. I don't know if there's a grade that suffices overall for the episode. I guess I give it a C. I don't know.
Are you a fan of Quest for Camelot or Leap Year? Or she has 8 credits.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
her mostly does voice work.
Yeah, well,
That's maybe voice. Like I said, it was the voice that I recognized, so I don't know.
Seems like the last thing she did was 2011. Her name is Fiona Dwyer.
Okay.
And I can literally read off her IMDb for you because it literally is 8 things. The Cantilever Account, The Doll and the Mad Dog, Hereafter, Leap Year, Quest for Camelot, that's the one I've seen, Late Line, B5, and Murder, She Wrote.
I've seen Leap Year. Maybe that's where I recognize her.
Wait, is this the rom-com Leap Year or is this some other Leap Year?
Rom-com, I think,
she plays an uncredited voice.
I like that movie.
But I guess not. But anywho, yeah, it was okay. Franklin was the best part, but...
Looks like she's doing ADR work now, honestly. Her last ADR work was 2021, so she's still a rep. Okay, moving right along. Nicole, first impressions.
Yo, what the fuck did I just watch? Usually I'm the positive one and I'm like, it's not bad, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know about this episode. First of all, we had a fucking genocide that was discussed. We had a weird sex scene, creepy babies and people in tubes, like black eyes, people watching people have sex and that whole thing was so weird.
Voyeurism is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole club's dedicated to that, Nicole.
That's
we don't
true.
want to offend any fans.
Yeah, no judgment, but it was just it was just weird the way they did it. So some protective Zach action of Lyta, which was interesting. Overall, some fighting. This was a weird episode. I will agree saying that Franklin was probably my favorite part, but when that chick took him with the gun or whatever, I just was like, my heart was sinking because, I said last week, I'm like, I think something bad's going to happen to Franklin. I was like, oh, no, don't you dare. I was like so mad, but then the other chick came around and it was fine. So, but like, I'm still processing what I saw. So I have a lot of questions too, which we'll get to. But yeah, I mean, not my favorite. Would I do it on the rewatch? I'd probably skip this one. But
do it on the rewatch. That's funny.
Oh, also the juvenile in me when Lyta says, "Rest in me," and I was like, "Yeah, I bet he's gonna rest in you." And I laughed.
I was like, "Oh, fuck, give me a break."
That was like a splash innuendo all over the screen.
Yeah, I just knew it was gonna fucking happen. I knew it was gonna be them too. I was like, last week I said it. I'm like, it better not be them. It was fucking them. I was so mad.
We did. Yeah, we said it was her and Koresh.
Yep.
I looked it up, by the way, for those who are curious. At least 1 in 10 of our audience is probably a voyeur. So just throwing it out there. Emily, first impression.
Are you sure? Are
Go
you
for
sure
it.
you want this?
You're all acting like you have never seen a sex scene before, so knock yourself out.
Oh, I've seen it before. They were just better than this. So the Franklin storyline was actually really good, really interesting. He did a great job. They could have left the entire episode there, but they didn't. And I have to say that listening to a sex scene from a Peter Pan fanfic audiobook while shopping for groceries in Walmart was less awkward than watching that scene. Okay, there was no sign of consent for anyone watching them.
I found your marbles.
I hate you all. No, just Scott. Everybody else is fine. Moving on.
But there was no discussion of consent for, yes, you all can just watch. And then really trauma dumping on everyone in the room while you're having an orgasm just doesn't seem like the polite thing to do. Maybe it's just me.
God, you're all a bunch of fucking liberals.
Wait, did she have an orgasm? Because it sure didn't fucking look like it to me.
I honestly don't know. Her eyes went black and I was just like, no, when you look like you're actually might be possessed, that could be an issue.
Or it's really, really good. Yeah, or it's really good.
But it didn't look like the good possessed. It looked like the bad. Yeah, no, gosh. Yeah, I'm glad we have Patreon money because we're all gonna need therapy after this one.
Hey, but really, when you screw in the middle of a room with a see-through curtain.
Thank you. It wasn't really a surprise that anybody was.
They also had red sheets. That's the fuck bed. That's not the first time that bed's been used for that.
I didn't notice that.
Not everybody else was sleeping on the floor, and he has this room with
he's the
red
leader of
sheets
the cult, man. He gets to have his own bed and his own.
Like he has a harem or something. It was weird. It was so fucking weird. And the lady just sleeping and slowly waking up. I don't want to relive this.
But yet you are, and you're making us
here we are.
Let's move on to Jessi. Jessi, how about your first impression?
What in the absolute fuck? I literally can't say anything else that anybody else hasn't said. We were cruising right along. It was a fine episode. Everything was great. Genocide, moving right through that as normal in B5. And then all of a sudden it happened. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Oh no. And then it got weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And then so weird that I told my husband, I feel like I need to make you watch this so that I can traumatize you also, because I don't feel like I need to be the only traumatized one here.
You can see Jessi yelling at her husband. Does this make you hot, you sicko?
He said, how long does it last? I said, about 2 minutes. He said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're absolutely not doing that. It was weird. It was fucking weird. And I watched it and I was like, okay, listen, I hear and see some really weird shit through my job as a snake milker every single day. And this traumatized me.
Do you really want to call yourself that? I know you can't say what your actual job is, but do you really want to call yourself a snake milker?
Yes, that was my job with no venom.
And the hand motion she just made to go with it.
That's not what I thought when you were talking about snake milking.
Actual reptiles actually milking snakes, you fucking nasty.
Oh, I thought it was like a jerk off thing.
Holy fucking shit.
She was giving out hand jobs.
Do snakes even have udders?
See, Emily, we were kind of alluding to it. Emily's like, yeah, she's giving out hand jobs.
Justin just asked if snakes have udders.
Just little ones.
Can you
get the little pinches out?
Yeah.
I literally think you people broke me just now.
We're all adults here. This is great.
We're not even through first impressions again.
No,
I feel like
no, we're
something's
not.
happening.
This is gonna be a fun one to edit. Yay! Okay.
Anyway,
okay, you
it
good?
sucked. I liked everything but the last fucking 3 minutes. Being on.
Is this the first time that we've had all our newbies hate on the same episode?
Probably.
We usually have at least one person, Nicole.
I don't know. TKO was pretty fucking shitty for everybody involved.
It could be.
Who cares what Brett and fucking the other guy think? Moving on.
Jesus Christ. Okay, moving right along to our first ones. Mike isn't here this week, so we're going to go to Kevin for his first impression.
You know, I swear to God, I'm not trying to be contrary. I'm really not, but I don't mind this episode. The dialogue, especially Byron's dialogue, not exclusively though, a little weird in a couple of major spots. So not a particular fan of dialogue, but I like the stuff with Franklin. I thought, Byron's approach is admirable. I thought the message of the episode, which I'm sure we'll get into, is a good one. So I don't hate this episode.
Blake.
Son of a bitch, I'm going to have to fucking agree with Kevin. God damn it. Thanks, Kevin. So no, I don't hate this episode either. The last scene, yeah, it's a little awkward, but who doesn't love a good expositional boffing scene every now and then? They had to get the telepath story out there somehow, and, well, he just fucked it right out of her. That's the best way we can put it. But there's a lot of good content in here, especially with the storyline with Franklin setting the work up he's doing with the Alliance about the medical histories and getting into what some of these races may have hidden, like with the Hayek and the Hayekdo and what they did and finally opening up to receiving help and having their secret notes. I liked the story in general. That last bit, yeah, but overall, not bad. I'd watch it again.
The fact that you described it as a little bit awkward, that is the most fucking awkward sex scene I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen some shit. Yeah. So it's not a little awkward. It was fucking weird.
Okay. So
just because it was an emotionally traumatized, possibly possessed person getting railed, Jessi, we've all been there at one point or another, right?
She was doing the writing. There was no railing. So, okay. I knew this episode was coming. And even when I kept saying, hey, season 5 has been working out for me, I knew this episode was coming. But you know what? And watching it for the first time in probably 5-6 years, it wasn't bad. It was actually a pretty damn good episode. I have to agree with Kevin and Blake on that because I think the Franklin stuff is great. I think it opens up a lot of ethical questions, which we're going to talk about because I don't necessarily agree with Franklin's outlook of the whole situation, but it was a great back and forth, really, hard sci-fi, a good conversation there. I have always remembered in my mind that Byron is so goddamn annoying. And I've joked about Byron on Beyond the Rim for literally 4 goddamn seasons saying Byron's coming. He wasn't that annoying. And his move from being pacifist, which we see clearly at the beginning of the episode where he's taking punches, to where he's probably not going to be much of a pacifist anymore, makes sense to me. Every step of the way from episode 1 to now, and every step of the way in this episode, it all makes sense to me that he has been pushed and pushed and pushed. And now he's deciding pacifism doesn't work. It just doesn't. I've tried. It doesn't work. So that whole arc in this episode was great. Yeah, the scene was awkward for all of us, but in a cult setting, and we've already agreed that this is culty, that makes sense too. It's a communal living. They're all living together. This shit is not weird for them. It's weird for us. So seeing it like this is actually rather transparent of what would have happened in that kind of group. Just because we can't get our 12-year-old minds around it doesn't mean it isn't something that's good for the story. So I enjoyed the episode, and with this being the one I was fearing the most being a good episode, season 5 may be pretty good for me. I'm excited now. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Wait, Scott, is this the first time all the first ones have actually agreed on an episode?
I think so. We had to go call Mike up and see how he liked the sex, but at least
especially one that
Mike, did you like the sex?
Hey,
especially one that's seen as not very good by the newbies. I think this is the first time that we've been all on the same page.
It's got to be, if it's happened before, it hasn't happened often to where newbies, this corner, first ones, this corner, which is good. It's going to be a good conversation. So let's go ahead, and before we talk about the fun sex scenes, let's talk about our good friend Franklin, who used to be involved in all these sex conversations, but not much anymore. So Emily, let's talk our good Dr. Franklin.
I was really impressed with him, and I found it interesting when he was basically being interrogated, like, what will you do with this information? Who are you going to tell? What if your life gets threatened? In that line of questioning, that he never once said that I have destroyed my own work to prevent it from being used for like bioweapons. That he didn't use as an example, because he talked about that previously, where he had all the studies and information he had from when he was ship hopping, and he destroyed it instead of letting it be used for like bioweapons. And I was quite surprised he didn't say, I've already been through this once. I know how to do it. You know, I'm capable of not handing it over for nefarious purposes.
Jessi.
I was curious what his answer was going to be to that question, because, you know, you just don't know. And he's like, I've already thought about that. What I particularly liked about the whole Franklin scene was his investigative skills. Like, he did exactly what I would do if I was looking for some information and couldn't find it, and it kept saying no, no, no. And I would just keep trying different things until we got to where we needed to be. And he definitely used the tools that he had at his hands. And I actually enjoyed the plot about him and the Kieran and all of them. I think that it was interesting, and it was definitely something that I would like to see him pursue, which it doesn't sound like he's gonna, because he's like, that's not really my bag. You guys killed those guys, and it is what it is. You're gonna have to suffer the consequences. But I would love to see, in a perfect world, I would love to see him go on to figure out what that was killing them. So I doubt we'll see that, but it would be interesting, I think, to me.
Nicole.
Yeah, this was a really good, meaty Franklin episode. Obviously, his acting skills were amazing. You believed what he was saying. And, you know, the thing with Franklin, I've always liked Franklin. He's always been one of my favorites. And a lot of people have had some opinions about him throughout. But the one thing about Franklin that has never changed, I feel like, is his morality and his ethics as a doctor. I mean, yes, he's manipulated things here and there and done things that were questionable, like with the telepath, you know, using them to fight and stuff in the wars and all that. But like, what it comes down to is that he's a good doctor, and that's what his sole purpose on this earth is. Like, he feels like, and now that we know a little bit more of his backstory too, it makes a lot of sense on why he's so convicted with being a doctor and being ethical and stuff like that. I thought maybe he was a little too harsh on them at the end. You know, he's like, I'm not the one that's supposed to forgive you. You killed them all. They're all dead or whatever. And they were like, it's not even us. It was our ancestors. So I get the whole like ethical Franklin side. I can see why he was mad, and I get that. But I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a little harsh, and he even said it's going to take multiple races. It's going to be multiple years. This may not ever come to fruition in my lifetime, but we can start. But you have to let people know, like, you have to put the information out there. So he stood his ground with them. And I feel like this role that he's doing, getting all this medical information, is kind of like almost like what his purpose is, if that makes sense. Like, obviously he's a doctor, but like, I feel like this is fitting for him, for all this research that he's doing.
Nicole, real quick, don't you think he would have softened his stance after a little bit of time? Don't you think that was like in the moment that he was reacting that way, and he probably would have softened after a bit?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think once they put the information out there and said, all right, well, if he knows, it's time to just tell everybody, maybe he would change, because he is kind of I don't want to say a softie, but like, he is kind-hearted. And I think that sometimes in the moment people can react a certain way and they could change, but just with his track record, maybe he would kind of soften up a little bit, but I don't know.
Justin.
Well, I mean, this is number 24,372 of why genocide's typically not a good idea. Because what did they expect would happen? They completely destroyed their own biodiversity. So honestly, I feel bad for the race as a whole that they're dying out. But even Franklin did not say he wouldn't help them. He just said it wasn't something he could do on his own. So if they insisted on keeping it a secret, then there was nothing he could do for them. But they even acknowledged they have to come public with it, so then they can start getting to work on finding some kind of cure or resolution for it.
That'll be on the human race's epitaph, by the way. What did they expect? They destroyed their biodiversity. Yep.
Amen.
Yeah. Sigh. Jessi.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
I did get the knee-jerk reaction of, it wasn't really their fault. Like, they didn't kill them. Their ancestors killed them. But when Franklin said, I understand that you didn't kill them, but you were covering it up. and you actively tried to cover it up. And that is why I'm not going to go out of my way to help you. I understood where he was coming from. At the same time, he says my Hippocratic oath has, made sure that I'm not giving out this information and blah, blah, blah. But his Hippocratic oath says that he shall do no harm. And if he knew that there was a way to help them, I feel like he would. And I think somebody said it. I don't know who said it, but I don't think that he said he wouldn't. I just think that he said that that's not his main priority. So it was definitely interesting for me because I initially had that thought of like, you need to, like, you can't take that against, out on them. But then he said, no, they absolutely did try to hide this. So I
think we all watched a different scene. He didn't say that. He never said he wouldn't help them. He never said he wouldn't prioritize it. He said, I can't solve it.
Yeah.
They asked him,
right. Exactly.
That's what I said a few minutes ago. Yeah.
I mean, because everyone's saying that, well, not everyone, but they're saying that he wasn't going to prioritize. He wasn't going to help. We're talking about something that is, and he said it, this is above me. It's going to take longer than my lifetime. You guys fucked something up 800 years ago. So he never said he wasn't going to help. He never said he wasn't going to prioritize it. He just said, I can't do it alone.
Right. Yeah. All he said was, I can't forgive you. It's not my place to do that. Right. So yeah, he was a little hard on her, but you're right, Scott. He and Justin too. Like he never said I won't help you. It was just in the way that he believed it was going to be a Herculean effort, and that it was beyond his capabilities to handle that big of a problem.
And he even said himself, he's not even sure it'll work.
What did I say that would make you think that was the impression that came out of your mouth? Because everything that you just said and Kevin said, I'm like, yeah, no, that's exactly what I heard.
What I had heard you said was, what I had heard you said, and I probably misheard, is that you said that he said he wasn't going to prioritize the.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that did come out of my mouth, and I don't know. Maybe that was just in my brain, a logical conclusion of what he had said. But no, I don't think that. I never heard him say he wouldn't help them.
I just started second guessing myself. I was like, did I watch the right scene?
No, that's why I was like, wait, what did I say? Because absolutely.
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Right. Gotcha. I agree. I think I agree. I never heard him say he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So
Kevin?
The other thing I want to mention was, besides the rather obvious allusions to, Nazi Germany and World War II, which if you want to read more about J. Michael Straczynski's ties to such things, read his autobiography, which is amazing, which we plugged many times on this show, but this is a good time to do that. The other thing that came to mind was the ethnic cleansing in Yugoslavia, which had only happened a few years before this.
Yes.
So I think showing that not living together and learning from other people and, finding a way to sing some kumbaya with each other is not in anyone's best interests. And I just really liked that message of this episode. And I thought it was really done very well.
The depressing part was when she walked through. Well, at first we lived together. We even intermarried and interbred. And then we made some rules against that. And then we made some rules against that. And then finally, we just decided it'd be better if they weren't here. I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Isn't that happening currently?
I was alluding to that, yes.
One country and another inside that country? Right.
The theme of the episode, too, is, what the ills of society is visited upon another, because I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but that's kind of part of what is going on with the telepath. So it goes together very well.
Right.
Jessi.
Because one of the very triggering statements that I continued to hear throughout this episode was you people, those people, those people, those people. As older millennial, almost a Generation Z person, those people, you people, that's a very triggering statement for me because it's never been a positive statement. And I continue to hear you're helping those people and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's, again, JMS is really, a genius for taking what's going on at that time and, fast forward to 2024 and we're still very relevant. So
Jessi, I hate to rain your parade, but you're definitely closer to Gen X than Gen Z. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Not Gen Z. I'm a millennial. No, I agree with you.
I know you said I'm a millennial, but I'm close to Gen Z. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh, Gen X. Sorry. No. I'm way closer. No, my bad. No, I'm nowhere near Gen Z.
I hate to age you, Jessi, but you're not.
No, fuck them kids. No, I'm much closer to Gen X. I'm sorry, Gen X than I am. I'm an older millennial, like just on the cusp of. I'm in that weird. I'm an 81.
Welcome to the club.
So.
We're called the Oregon Trail generation. We're the pre-internet millennials.
Well, that's why they call us Zennials.
Right.
Instead of millennials.
And it's like I fall into that. I don't have a spot because I'm like not a Gen Z, or Gen X, but I'm also I don't feel like I'm a millennial. So moving on.
I like Oregon Trail. I like that. That's good. I don't think I've heard that before.
It's actually a whole thing. It's if you because our generation millennials interacted with digital technology in terms of the Oregon Trail,
right?
Whereas in other millennials interacted with the internet.
Yeah.
So there's a singularity.
Dysentery. Holding at the internet.
But some of us were born during the Carter administration, which makes me feel older for some reason.
Yeah, well, you're a special case, Dan.
Well, so's Justin.
Wait, was he still in office in 80?
Yes, you were too, Nicole. Yes.
Damn.
Nicole? Which president was it? I don't know.
I don't know. I was a baby. I was born in 1980. I don't remember.
What is politics? I don't know.
Justin, what do you got?
I don't remember.
Good.
This all went off the damn rails.
I do have a question for all of you, and a couple of you have already kind of mentioned it and answered already, but ethical question. Yes, I know that they hid the information. That's Franklin's argument, but do they really have to pay for the sins of their great grandparents and what they did? Because ethically, can you blame a society for what has been done in the past? And I ask this because how connected are we to the atrocities in the West in the later 1800s? How connected are we to slavery? That's only 100, 200 years apart. So can you really judge people or hold them accountable when they weren't alive, when it happened?
I would say no, typically. I believe that you should be aware of it and understand your past so you don't make those same mistakes again. But to Franklin's point, they may not even been the ones who went and hid all the information and erased all the data or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
But they're the ones who continue to be stubborn and not want to talk about it. So there's only so much you can do for somebody. Like, let's take what's going on in today's society. There's a big movement to whitewash history and everything. If we're going to be cognizant of our past mistakes as a country, as a species, then if we allow this to happen, and if we just don't want to talk about slavery or don't want to talk about the genocide of indigenous peoples or anything like that, then that is on us.
Jessi, you seem to have some thoughts on that.
Just acting like it doesn't happen doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
So I believe that Justin he nailed it, is like the fact that they did not commit the atrocities is one thing, and call me woke, but trying to cover it up is the problem. Like acting like a certain state in the 48 states. Jesus Christ, there's 50.
If you ask Obama, there's 51.
The lower 48. One of the states is trying to, well, not one of the states, a several portion of the country is trying to ban certain information from going out to high school students, and acting
Texas,
like
Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri,
Iowa,
Mississippi,
Georgia.
Iowa.
Right, exactly.
Hi, Kim Reynolds.
Mississippi.
Oklahoma.
Right. There's a certain group of people who believe that not acting like it, that acting like it did not happen is the best way to go. And that is absolutely, history will repeat itself if you continue to act like it is not a thing. So acting like it didn't happen does not mean that it didn't happen. So that's my issue with it is, and it seems like that was Franklin's issue with it too, is it's not that you guys did it. You guys didn't do it. I didn't do it. I don't even know if my ancestors were here. I believe that we came from Ireland, and I don't believe that any of them owned slaves, but that doesn't mean that, there's not a certain, one person or two or whatever. But acting like it didn't happen at all, like that's not a thing. It absolutely happened. So you can continue to try to whitewash it. You can continue to try to ban it. You can continue to try to cover it up, but that is only going to lead to further problems. And, if we just lay it on the table and say, yeah, this is our really dark part of history and we all did this and this is what it was, let's make sure it never happens. That's a different story than, oh no, we didn't do any of that. Like, let's try to hide it. So
like
Justin and Jessi hit on a lot of it. You may not have done it, but if you're complicit in covering it up and preventing it from being history, And some of it, I think, gets into, there's another dimension that really wasn't in the show, but gets into it, especially if you look at this in a current lens, which, again, for those that say we're taking a 30-year-old show and looking at a current lens, one, I'm just going to say, fuck you. Because this is one of the endearing qualities of this show is you can take this 30-year-old show, watch this episode that was written 30 years ago, and you can still extrapolate from it and relate it to things that are happening now. And it's just as valid now to current events with what is going on in the world today, in this country today. As Kevin, I believe it was you that mentioned the ethnic cleansing in Kosovo at the time that was more current to when this episode came out. It still can resonate to current events even 30 years later, which I'm going to say is some of the genius of the writing. So for those that hate when we go on these trips, too bad, buckle up. The other part when you get into this is your history does not necessarily entitle you to comfort. And that's not the same as blaming you for history. If you've got a person today who is uncomfortable because of the history they learn of what people did in this country, that is not the same as blaming that person for the history of what happened in this country.
Reach.
I'm trying. But that's part of the problem we have is people take discomfort and associate that to blame. And what needs to happen is lean into that discomfort, learn from it, use that to move forward, rather than hide from it and try to make everybody as comfortable and wrapped up in their little blanket of whatever they want it to be. Because, God forbid we talk about terrible things that, frankly, white men did in this country to indigenous populations, particularly indigenous women, to communities of color, to you look at the history of monuments. People talk about erasing history when monuments get torn down. Look at when they were put up in the first damn place. They weren't put up after the Civil War. They were put up after advances in the civil rights movement. Learn into that history. Learn into the discomfort of that. Then it's truly learning and growing.
It's amazing how all the Confederate monuments in this country went up during the KKK spurns of the 1920s.
After the Tulsa race riots, after Brown v. Board, after all of these things.
There you go, using common sense and history again. Don't do that. They hate it when you do that.
Woke bitches.
Come at me. I'll send you Jessi.
Isn't this what good science fiction is for? To be a metaphor to talk about current events and history and how to be better human beings. That's what good science fiction is for. And when science fiction is bad, you don't do those things. So why in God's name would you watch this show and then get upset when we talk about the themes that are in the damn show? I don't understand. Are we watching the same thing when you're watching Babylon 5 and you think, why is Grace 17 so woke? Fuck you.
Okay.
Hey, it's been a while since we've had a good episode where we've told half the fan base to fuck you.
I just don't understand how you can watch the show and not see those things. Like, are you like are you just hiding your head in the sand? What's the deal? Because this is an extreme example of what we've been talking about. What's in the show is an extreme example. They don't have people left that they can do anything for other than be honest about what happened. But they could have, some museums. They could talk to other races about the importance of biodiversity and learning from their mistakes. But no, they're hiding it all. And they just want to sweep it under the rug and forget it ever happened, even though they're literally dying because of what they did. So, again, extreme example, there's not as much that they can do because all the Hayek Doe are dead. But if you want to bring this into, current event stuff, there are different things because not everyone got wiped out in most of the things we're talking about.
So there's a good video that was put out by a YouTuber several years ago. His name is Steve Shives. And he put out a video called "What Do Conservatives Actually Like About Star Trek?" And he's talking about Star Trek, but it's the same idea. And it's a good conversation to have. It's like, what do you see in an extremely woke show that is meant to be a liberal show, to have liberal ideals? And it's interesting. I absolutely don't want to be a gatekeeper. If you enjoy the show, knock yourself out. If you're here for the pew-pew, if you're here for something else that we don't understand, cool, knock yourself out. But I hear you, Kevin, that I don't understand how someone can watch this show for 5 seasons and be somebody, because I've run into several of them, who have loved this show for 30 years and completely miss the whole goddamn point. And I don't get it, but they do. But here's the interesting thing. If you ask them, they'll say the same thing about us. I don't understand how they missed the point. The difference is they literally are missing the point. But anyone who's interested, you should check out that video. It's a really good one. About 4 years ago, I just pulled it up. Jessi.
So to bring maybe a different perspective, because I'm not a sci-fi person, and Nicole is similar to me. Neither one of us had ever seen any sci-fi at all. And I guess that was one of the most unexpected things of the show, was the politics that are part of it. It's not proposed as a political show. It's a sci-fi show. And so I guess that was one of the things that really surprised me, is seeing some of the things that are so relevant. And I cannot help but look at the lens that I'm looking through right now and compare it to the show, because I did not have the opportunity to watch the show at the time that it came out. So I didn't have the opportunity to watch the show then and be like, yeah, no, this is relevant to our times. I was young, and I don't know. I was in high school. I didn't remember. But watching it now, and the amount of times that I've been like, holy shit, why is that so relevant to what we're still dealing with today, was one of the most unsuspected results of me watching the show. So,
as a fan of several shows that are from the 90s, you look at things like The West Wing, Queer as Folk, which are both shows that I happen to be a fan of. I've rewatched multiple times. I mean, these were very culturally significant shows. They had a huge impact in their time period when they came out. But when you watch them 20 some odd years later, they're still good. They're still worth watching, but maybe don't necessarily hold up in a way that you can look at them to look at current events. I think this is something that honestly gets really put into sci-fi, where sci-fi really allows this vehicle for this type of writing that lets you do this, where you can look at something both contemporary to when it came out, but also use it as this allegory towards the future. I think that's the strength of sci-fi, and it's the genre itself that lends itself to that, more so than a lot of other shows from the 90s that we see that don't necessarily hold up in terms of the ability to relate to current events.
You all made really great points about we can't be responsible for the actions of people before us. Obviously, we didn't exist, right? What we are responsible for is educating ourselves so we're not maintaining those systems that are harmful and that were intentionally created to be harmful. Because I know we frequently hear, oh, the system's broken. It's not that the system is broken. Most of these systems were created with the intention of excluding certain groups of people. And we need to recognize that and accept that so that we can correct it somehow. Because if you assume, oh, it's just broken or it can never be fixed, that's ignoring the history of what has happened. And we can't always assume that what we are taught in schools is correct, because it is not. Sometimes learn some interesting things in history class that may not have been entirely accurate, and some things get glossed over. I just read a book for a book club, and it was about the rise of the Klan in the 20s, and holy shit, that would have been great information to have when the Klan took over all but like 2 counties in the state of Indiana, and then they expanded and they were huge in Oregon. We think of the Klan, we think of the South. No, they were bigger in the North.
I used to teach in a town in Illinois called Colchester, and one of the Grand High Wizards was from Colchester.
And that's like, you look at Oregon, which is one of the most progressive states in the Union. When this state was formed, it was in the state constitution. Black people could not be in this state. The number of people that after the Civil War left the South and came this way was quite a bit. And that influence is still being reckoned with here.
Well, and also, Blake, Eastern Oregon in the 90s, not that long ago, was one of the militia epicenters in the country.
Oh, shit, it still is.
Yeah.
We took over a bird refuge a few years ago. The Al-Qaeda to bring snacks, remember?
Yeah.
I won't name names, but one of us lives in the KKK headquarters of the United States. It's not me, by the way. It's Justin.
Oh, because I was going to say,
I want to make it very clear. Justin doesn't have like a cot in the headquarters. Because that's what it sounded like. Like Justin lives in the basement of the KKK headquarters.
Justin, does your bed sheets have like a pointy hat in the middle of them, or we just need to know?
Justin has nothing to do with
I wear
the
hockey
KKK.
jerseys, not bed sheets. Thank you.
Justin's the farthest thing from the KKK. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
The way you said that, somebody lives in the headquarters. I'm like, what?
Well, he lives in the state that's okay, moving on.
We know Indiana.
Now, I do see,
Good talk.
I don't see the robes here, but I do see the black combat outfits with the teardrop patches and everything like that. People walking around with those.
There's ways to show off your thoughts without being singled out as much. Or you can just go to Lowe's and buy a lot of tiki torches because that's badass.
And buy some old Navy khakis.
Pretty much. Fucking.
What about them telepaths, guys?
All right, so on to the sex scene because we haven't hit that yet. So let's go.
Okay. I do the transitions here, motherfuckers.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Hold on.
I was getting all excited. Sorry.
I'm going to let that one sit for a while. First off, I want to say thank you to everybody for taking my question and running with it. That's great. And I completely agree with all of you. I was just asking the question, but for me, I do think as great a sin as conducting the crime is hiding the crime. I completely agree with that. And you bear responsibility for hiding that crime, whatever that is, whether you did or. So I agree with you all. But now that we've had this wonderful conversation about racism and historical violence and all of that, let's talk about telepaths. And yes, about telepaths fucking. Because that's what we do here at Grade 17. So, Jessi, what do you have to say about Byron, Lyta, and all of that?
So, I would like to address something that you said in your first impressions.
I'm being addressed or redressed.
Let me redress you.
Didn't get dressed down.
Don't be naked. Let's redress you. So
it's been a few weeks since I flashed you all. It's fine.
It hasn't been that long. It's still burned in my retinas. So you said something about that's the life that they lived. That's the way that they would live. That's what they would do. That's how they would see it. I cannot look through my current lens at the way that they would live their life. I would look at it through what I know. And it's fucking weird that they all looked through that sheer ass fucking curtain and watched the whole thing happen. When I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, so last week we talked about a sex scene and I said it's going to be Lyta and Koresh. It was, in fact, Lyta and Koresh. But holy shit, it was weirder than I could ever have fucking imagined it. It was so fucking weird. And listen, I know you guys, all you first ones, you knew what was coming, but I guarantee
we knew it was coming.
Take rest in me, weirdo. But that's the thing is like the first time you guys watched it, I bet you fucking felt like it was weird too. So where I'm watching it, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, this is weird. Okay, there's a see-through fucking door. Okay, this is getting weirder. Oh, her eyes are black. Oh, there's a baby with a fucking tube in it. Oh my God, I'm traumatized. And I got to the point, I think I sent a group chat message to everybody that said, I'm going to need fucking alcohol for this episode because I was not ready. It was weird to me. It was a weird fucking sex scene. This is a lot for me to say. I would prefer to go back to Sheridan and fucking DeLynn and seeing them in bed, not seeing anything happen, than watching what we watched today. And Ryan's going to call me a prude, and that's fine. But it was fucking weird to me.
Be careful what you wish for, Jessi.
I know. I got what I asked for.
Now,
shit.
Of the first ones, I know Blake watched from the start. Kevin watched when he was in college. You say, what was I thinking when I first saw this scene? I don't know, but I can tell you I was 14 years old. So what I was thinking was probably dank.
Probably not. Oh, this is weird. Probably
ruined
like
a couple socks during that episode.
I just looked at the release date. Originally aired March 4th, 1998. I was in the heart of 14 years old, my dear. What I watched in that episode's definitely different than how I see it now.
98, I was 17. Yeah, it was weird to me. Moving on.
Justin, since you're talking about socks, please.
Yeah, I stand by that. You probably ruined a couple fucking socks during that scene. Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
You rang? No, I'm just kidding. Anywho, so the point I was trying to actually get to. Okay, first of all, y'all fuckers who are talking shit today about my allusions to X-Men being really wrong and obscure, what X-Men are you watching?
Right.
We were defending you on that, by the way.
I appreciate it.
And the person you would like to address your comments to, Justin, is FSM the dog. He's the one who does. That is the one who does not understand X-Men references.
And if you'd like to discuss it with him, he literally is on every 10 o'clock on Wednesday, every release day. So for those who want to join us as we chat on the YouTube release, 10 a.m. Central, U.S. Central, every Wednesday. And FSM the dog is always there. Hi, FSM.
Yeah, we'll have conversations next week.
He's right now frantically typing in the chat. They're talking about me.
But anyway.
Oh, that was some heavy breathing.
I was watching a lot of this episode and thinking, you know what? Maybe I judged Byron wrongly. Because I compared him to Magneto a lot in the past. And I'm like, okay, he's actually going out of his way to stop violence. He stopped them from, killing the one guy thinking he was on fire. He was really concerned about trying to stop them from doing any harm to really anybody. So I'm like, okay, maybe I pegged him wrong. And then he went on his rage after finding out about the Vorlons. So I'm like, okay, and there it is. Because he's shown some not violent, but forceful tendencies in the past. And then this episode was completely different where he's like, kumbaya, Byron. But now he went back to, I'm going to burn the whole universe down, Byron. So I'm very interested to see how that goes because all he wants is just a home for his people. Genosha. Let's address the Heffalump in the room. Was it an awkward scene? Yes. Was it acted poorly? Yes. Is it what I would expect when two powerful telepaths have sex? Yes. I'm sorry. It's even Lyta made the comment, shit's gonna get weird when we get in there. And he's like, okay, well, let it burn or whatever. And then they let it burn.
That's an STD, sir. Do not let it burn.
Okay, as we talk about STDs, I gotta take a timeout. So you guys have, much like bringing Beetlejuice into the world, you have said Ryan's name several times. And I'm just gonna click this button.
Is he on right now?
And things are gonna happen.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Oh, shit's about to get weird.
Beetlejuice.
Hey, Ryan.
Our very own Beetlejuice.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
I need to say a face and a voice. There we go.
Hello.
No, fix it.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Ooh, getting close.
I do not have a camera set up. But...
How about you all keep talking over him since he just joined? That'd be great.
I need a picture to take him seriously.
Sorry, no picture. Didn't have a camera set up, but I hear you being a prude again.
Oh. Speaking of
problem,
STDs,
Jessi?
Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Oh,
no,
shit.
Star Trek Discovery's over. That STD is over. But you're being a prude, and what's that about, Jessi? What's your problem? Can't a married couple just get it on?
What part would you like to take up with me, sir? Are we talking about Dylan or are we talking about Lyta?
As she asks this question, she's drinking her wine. Here we go.
Hey, Lyta's allowed to have sex. What's
She
the
is,
problem?
and I love it, but it's weird sex.
She came so hard, she radicalized a group of hippies. What's not inspiring about that? That's girl power.
I'm so glad.
God damn it, Ryan.
Don't you remember what it's like when telepaths make love?
I was just gonna.
That's what I was just saying.
That's one of my points. Damn.
I tried to scrub that from my memory. Thank you.
See, JMS is a master of payoffs. He set it up in season 1 that telepaths come really hard.
Payoffs with bad dialogue, but okay, sure.
But amazing visuals. Amazing.
We need to bring that meme back. Folks on Facebook, the meme died a while ago. Bring it back. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Jessi, such a prude. I'm glad that I could come from the ether just to say you're such a prude. How could you? I can't
so
wait
glad
for you
you
to watch
came,
Crusade,
Ryan.
by the
Well
way.
done.
Can't
Ryan
wait
came
to
from
watch
the ether.
Crusade.
He's great.
Ryan came so hard across continents. There we go.
God damn it. 12 hours ahead of
And
us.
cross an international date line.
You know what it's like when Australians make love, right?
No, I don't know any Australians but you and my
Please
aunt.
don't tell us.
It's like when telepaths make love too.
They radicalize.
I hope you all enjoy. I imagine you're talking about Secrets of the Soul. The secret of the soul was Lyta coming real hard and making everyone inspired to take violence.
Oh, Ryan, I've missed you.
I've missed me too on the pod.
Damn.
We need
He's
you
so
on more
humble,
often.
folks.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too. Well, enjoy the rest of your discussion. Unless you want my opinion on Secrets of the Soul. Franklin did nothing wrong.
Okay.
Byron's right, and Zach's a freak in the episode. Huh? What's with Zach acting like a fucking dad? What's his problem?
Well, remember
Hey,
one
prude,
thing,
maybe
He couldn't hit it, so now he's mad about it.
the
Maybe
last
he
time he
just has a
tried to
thing
hit
for
it, she
her.
turned into a demon. So what are you going to blame him for?
She turned into a demon by just saying no thank you. Oh boy. Enjoy your discussions. I can't wait to hear me pop up when I listen to this in the podcast feed and correct Scott on some incorrect thing in the description.
We've already
or title.
discussed this. You're well beyond that part of the conversation. I did find out that you send fucking screenshots to Blake though, so thank you.
He asked. I have receipts.
Snitch.
Oh, that was
Snitches
not part
get
of the
stitches,
information.
Ryan.
Nicole.
Welcome to
Snitches get
America.
stitches. Well, yeah. I'm just sorry, but which is worse, a snitch or a fucking prude? I'm sorry, Jessi.
Ryan,
Oh,
I will
snap.
fight you. I know
They're
you don't know
married.
me well.
They're married.
Well,
They could share a
Ryan, just so
bed.
you know, we're Americans, so even proof doesn't change our minds about stuff. It's still
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You probably know that about us.
Evidence. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I know about that too. But enjoy. I hope everyone got a bit of a delight out of my jump scare of letting Jessi know that I will not abide by this aggression against sexuality in Babylon 5.
This
Okay,
aggression,
it was
man,
horny.
will not stand, man.
This won't stand. I mean, what do you want? Jakar started this by saying pleasure thresholds. You knew what you were getting in for. Sinclair's first line was about fucking aliens. What do you expect,
Yes,
Jessi?
Babylon 5 is very much a horny show. We haven't discussed that lately, but it is a horny show.
Now go watch Sense8, also by JMS, a show about people who can enter each other's minds when they orgasm. It's weird that that's a recurring idea in JMS's work.
Don't kink shame JMS. Don't do it.
He likes to watch.
He's the 12%.
Yeah, I disagree with you on one thing, Ryan. Corwin fucks, okay? You're wrong.
I've watched the show, all of it. I know for a fact he does not fuck.
Spoilers.
Thanks for ruining
imagine-
it.
In the finale, he rocks up and says, "I'm a virgin, Nicole," and that's the final line of the
He
show.
looks at the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Nicole.
Now type into Google Images Josh Cox, and you will see an image of him with his shirt off, and you will be very happy. It's a very startling image.
Okay, I'm doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lot of detail to shirtless Josh Cox that you wouldn't expect.
And we have now lost Nicole for the rest of the show.
Does he have a third nipple?
Hey, Ryan, don't come back without a camera.
I won't. I'll come back and you'll be mysteriously gone for some reason.
Shocking.
Scott, when I come back, I want a Lockley episode. By the way, I'm what they call a lockhead. That's a fan of Lockley.
Did you definitely make that up by yourself?
No.
Yes.
I mean, yes, but no.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, if you're a fan of Lockley, you're a fan of me. Ryan's a fan of me. That's what I just heard. Ryan, have a good night.
You were my second favorite newbie. John was my favorite, of course. Loved him. He was so good he couldn't handle being here anymore when I showed up.
What the hell? What about me, jerk?
Wow.
Oh,
just offended everybody.
no, my
else
actual
on the
favorite was
podcast.
Andrew. I loved his long hair.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. You're all my favorite except for you, Jessi, for being such a prude in fifth season. You've done a heel turn.
Okay, we need to send him back to the graveyard now. Ryan.
Goodbye, Ryan.
Goodbye.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye. Who let that fucking guy on here? Don't do that anymore.
It was Blake's fault. I approve, though.
Fuck you,
Glad to
Ryan.
come here anytime.
That was entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Blake's DMing me. I'm seeing if Ryan's on. He's on. He's coming.
As soon as you
that
mentioned
guy.
the prude thing, I'm like, oh, we're doing this.
Yep. Love that guy, regardless of whether he hates me or not. Moving on.
Quote of the episode is, "She came so hard she radicalized a group of hippies."
Yeah.
That should be our synopsis.
Oh,
Okay, let's keep moving.
Where are we at this point?
who knows?
You were pontificating. We're moving on to Emily. Emily, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question for everyone else in the podcast. It's a which would you rather see? Would you rather see Lyta and Byron go at it, or would you rather see two furries dressed as Chewbacca and an Ewok?
Furries.
I'm going with the first one.
Same.
Going with the furries.
I think this survey question says more about you all than it does about the problem with the scene.
Emily, I've already seen that, so I'm going to go with
Oh, no.
Well then,
Okay, now I need to know where you've seen it.
because she wants to watch it too.
I'm curious how it all works.
It's called 2 1 cup.
Wow. So
No.
it's several different issues in that.
Okay, I actually did have something semi-legitimate to say. Kevin laughed. Just so everyone knows, Kevin like fell off his chair.
I want to point out that we had one of the most like legitimate professional conversations on the front end of the show. Then we had this.
It's completely gone now.
We knew this was
Together,
coming
okay?
now. This should not shock anybody.
Oh shit.
Okay. But did anyone else actually feel really bad for Lita that she had been like holding on to all that information that she knew about the Vorlon?
Yeah,
and
that's
it
dark,
was
yeah.
finally shared like in a very awkward manner, but she was finally able to like release that and not hold all that weight herself. I was like, damn, that is a lot to be carrying around with you.
Well, because you're right, Emily, because other people have been asking her for a few seasons, what did the Vorlons do to you? And she would never share that information. So now it's out there, and I'm sure that's got to be a huge stress reliever off her back, which...
Did anyone else get the impression that maybe she didn't know everything about what happened and some of that was like new information to her that...
I don't know if it's new information, but I read it as she was opening up her suppressed emotions and thoughts. So maybe like she had buried those memories.
That was kind of what I was getting at.
So I don't think it was like it was hidden from her to begin with. She's probably thought about these, but she's probably buried all that
but
stuff.
Just some suppressed memories came out during that. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Nicole, you said you were going to bring this up too, but we were told in one of the worst line deliveries of this show that when telepaths have sex, all the walls come down. So you were watching that along with some interesting humping. Emily, what the fuck? I'm done.
We've derailed.
Jessi, what do you have?
Like definition of derailed is where we're at right now.
The ding dong was the end of it. That's what killed it.
I feel like before Ryan came on, I was going to talk about the nonviolent tendencies of Koresh, but now we've moved on way further. And I'm a prude and I don't believe in sex.
Womp, womp, womp.
I know. Again, going back to my very first statement, the whole fucking thing was weird. She's like, listen, I'm probably going to burn you. First of all, that's the first red flag. No, thank you. I would like to not. Second of all, he's like, fuck it. Let's do it. And it gets weird from there. It's not normal sex. And so that doesn't make me a prude. That the weird sex freaks me out. Her eyes turn black. She goes into these like scenes of her in a water tube or a water tank and with tubes out of her and into babies where they're multiplying babies. It's a weird fucking situation and it creeps me out. The whole thing traumatized me. I'm still recovering.
Jessi, a question for you. Do you think we were seeing the memories through the point of view of Lita or through the point of view of Byron? Because I feel that we're seeing what Byron is experiencing, not what Lita's experiencing.
Yeah, but you're experiencing what Byron's experiencing because of what Lita experienced.
Well, I get that she went through the experience. Completely agree with you. But when I see the flashes between the Vorlon attacks and her in the tube and everything, we keep going back to Byron's face, his O face, but his face. I think it's Byron experiencing this stuff is what we're watching.
So in my brain, I just feel, I don't know. I guess I watched it as Byron seeing what Lita saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing.
Right. Yeah. So yes. So like, I feel like he was watching the whole thing happen. Now, whether she remembered all of that or whether she like had opened all those memories, I don't have any idea. Dude, that shit caught me on fucking, I was surprised.
Nicole.
So the sex part wasn't really what weirded me out. It is what it
Right.
is. But what weirded me out, well, first of all, I kept thinking of that line about how when telepaths make love, all the walls come down. And it's like, I forgot what the exact line was, but basically it's like epic or touching heaven or something like that. I don't remember. But I kept thinking about that because when she said, I don't know what's going to happen. And he said, well, let's go anyway. And as they started doing it and things started happening, I couldn't tell if he was afraid or if he was into it, first of all, because of what he was seeing. But to me, what the visions that were shown were really freaking me out and really just, I don't know, like, I didn't really understand what was happening, to be honest. It was like the Vorlons, and then Lita was had the black eyes and the stuff coming out of her face, and then she was in a tube, and then there was a baby, and then there was millions of people, and like it just made me think of like Killer Clowns from Outer Space when they had all the people in the in the cotton candy.
That's a stretch. Okay.
But like that's what I thought of, because that was traumatizing to me when I watched it as a child, and I shouldn't have. But that's what I envisioned. So to me, it wasn't necessarily okay, they had sex, whatever. I'm not 12, people have sex. I'm all for it. But like it was the visions and what he was seeing, and like that's what really freaked me out. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And then when he went on his diatribe at the end, and then they zoomed in on his face as he just got angrier and angrier, I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, this is going to open up a can of worms that's going to be really bad. And I have said from the beginning, there was something untrustworthy about him and that I didn't like. And my point has just been proven and proven and proven, because he gets more and more Koreshi, and now he's going to be angry. So we're not really sure what they're going to do or what they can be capable of. Also, we haven't seen his full capabilities and what he can do. If he can control all those people and like teach them or whatever he was doing, he's got to be pretty fucking powerful, right? So then I'm thinking, all right, this is kind of scary because they're both super powerful. In my mind, I'm watching this unfold and I'm like, this is just going to get bad. Also, too, I kept thinking about at the beginning when Zach was saying those people, and kind of lecturing Lyta, and he was trying to look out for her, and I get it. And also he said, I care about you. And she goes, yeah. But then she kind of stood up for herself for the first time. And that made me really happy when she said, I did this for you and I got nothing. I got kicked out of my room. And then I did this for you and I got nothing. And now for the first time, I feel loved and I feel accepted and I feel this and that. So it's exactly what we were talking about last week. And then, she said she didn't feel welcome there. And then he's like, hey, everyone, Lyta doesn't feel welcome. And then they all love bomb her. And it was just like, it's so weird. Mm-hmm. The behaviors and the actions and the love bombing and the mind control and the echo chamber. It's just, and obviously it's not like they're not violent and they don't have violent tendencies, because we saw what happened when they killed that dude and like beat the shit out of the other guy with the fire and all that. So like we had a taste of the things that they can do. So in my mind, it wasn't even so much the sex part that bothered me. It was like all of what was happening, and that kind of like being the catalyst to the shitstorm that I think is about to come.
Kevin,
I have a question. I also have some production information, but before I get into that, I just want to ask a question. Did this make anyone like Zach less? Because it definitely made me like him less. I just wondered what everyone's thoughts were on that.
I didn't like him less. I think it just highlighted his lack of awareness.
Yeah, and his fear.
Yeah.
And he's head of security, but he's afraid of what these people can do.
And I think that's the hard part. You're head of security. You need to be suspicious of any large group that's gathering and is secluding themselves or like ostracizing themselves, because it could turn into something. It's not like there is a logical process to be like, that seems strange, what's happening, to want to like investigate or just understand what's going on.
His knee-jerk reaction to arresting Byron and then having all of Byron's fears go completely unheard, just it really made me think that he just was completely clouded. His judgment was completely clouded by jealousy, which was pretty clear, I think, to everybody.
Yeah.
So a couple of production things. So they were originally talking about doing those tank scenes by just filming through water glass and not actually having Pat Tallman in the tank, but she actually was in a tank, and she filmed both of the scenes in Byron's quarters prior to the sex scene and the tank scene all in the same day. So that was a lot for her. She said it's a cruel irony that she wasn't able or asked to do a sex scene until this point in her career, after she had already had at least one child, I believe. And she said it was kind of a mortifying experience for her, but she was really glad she got to do it with this crew that she'd known for, nearly 5 years at this point, because she trusted them more than any other crew that she'd ever worked with. And they did it on a closed set. This is, of course, before the days of having, intimacy coordinators on sets. but it was a close set where they just had the director of photography, the director, probably like a camera guy and a lighting guy, and that's about it. Everyone else was not there other than Mr. Downs, who plays Byron. But I just found it really interesting that they had decided to actually really go for it and really do the sets for that scene to be, for lack of a better term, more authentic instead of just trying to give it some sort of practical effects.
I definitely think that the quality of the sex scene was good. You bought it, you believed it, you watched it, you thought, yeah, that's it. What made it so weird for me was all the extra stuff. The scenes of her in the tank, the scenes of the baby, the scenes of the extra, the other telepaths watching them through the sheer door. You bought it. You bought that was happening. You bought that it was, she was there, that they were connecting in that manner. But I don't know if she enjoyed it. Like, her eyes were black. It creeped me out. That's the extra stuff that like made it like, this is traumatizing. The black eyes, the scenes, the people, like that's the stuff. If it had just been them two having sex, it is what it is. Like it wasn't that bad of a scene. But then you add in all the other stuff, and I was like, oh, this is uncomfy. I don't like it.
Yeah, the babies in the tubes was really kind of a kill for the whole mood.
That's okay. So I get the sex scene's the shiny object, and we've all joked about it, but we're completely missing the fact that, and Ryan said it, Byron's right. That's what we're ignoring this entire arc. And I get it, sex scene, great, but I'm going to ignore that for a bit. And the fact that, Kevin, you mentioned it with Zach, this guy has tried everything to be a pacifist. And Nicole, I disagree with you on we've seen the violent tendencies throughout. We haven't, in my opinion. We have not. And in fact, in this episode, Emily, with the synopsis, you said that he's now going to be vengeful. We don't see that either. We're piling a lot of our own biases on this Byron character, a lot. And that's fine. That's what he's supposed to be. He's there to be this catalyst to make you watch the show. I get that. And I can tell you over 30 years, he's not a like character in the fandom. You've seen that a lot. But at the end of the day, and I have not thought this in my other rewatches, but I feel it now, is he's right. He has done everything he can to make these assholes listen to him. He has tried to do everything. He went down to literally the shit sector of the station with his people, and he kept quiet. When he was asked to do work for people, he did. When he was asked to do anything else by the station personnel, he did everything they asked. He played along. Not once did he try to start shit. And when somebody's trying to bully him into fighting, he just takes punches for his team and continues and continues and continues. And it's not until he is trying to stop his people from taking vengeance, and then he gets turned around and thrown in the brig, and he isn't allowed to stop his people, and he finds out that his entire existence is forced upon him by an alien race that doesn't even fucking exist anymore. That's when he's like, okay, it's time for them to do something for us. And the great tie-in to the Franklin piece on this is it's the exact same conversation we just had. Is your society responsible for the sins of the past? The humans didn't create the telepaths. The Vorlons did. But they're still responsible for dealing with the outcome of the situation. And so I don't get the whole, he's violent, he's going to be vengeful. We haven't seen any of that. We've seen a guy who's been beat up and beat up and beat up, and sooner or later somebody says, okay, pacifism isn't working, so let's try something new. So I get the whole sex scene thing, but I actually think this is a pretty fucking good episode. Nicole?
Well, I don't think anyone's disputing what you're saying, Scott, that he tried this and tried that and tried, and like that I agree with. Like nobody's disputing that. What I'm saying is, for me, I'm looking at it in a different lens where, yes, he has tried to do these things, and yes, he is doing everything he can, and there's only a limit one person can take before they break, right? And that's where he's at now, which I totally understand and I agree with. But for me, the tendencies that I've noticed are the cult-like behaviors that he is portraying. And to me, when I see that, that also usually alludes and leads to potential escalation. Also, at the end of the episode, it didn't help that they zoomed in on his pissed off face. So that's a production thing to make you think, oh, well, he's going to get crazy.
Jessi?
So I haven't seen the rest of the episode. Like, I haven't seen the rest of the season, which you guys are watching from a lens of you've seen the whole thing, you know what's happening. I, on the other hand, don't. Emily doesn't. Nicole
That's who that is.
Those other noobs, they don't. And so I cannot know what I don't know. And it does seem very culty. The fact that Lyta has not known, in my eyes, when I'm watching it, she has not known him that long. And all of a sudden she's in bed with him. All of a sudden this is sparking a revolution. It still seems very culty to me. So watching the whole thing from a lens of I already know what happens is not, I don't have the ability to do that. So what, like, yeah, we joke about the sex scene. The sex scene was extremely uncomfortable for me, not because of the actual sex. The sex was great. Everything else that went along with it was fucking weird. Like, you can't say that it wasn't weird. The fucking sheer door and the fucking babies with tubes. Like, listen, I get it. Like, you can't say that the revolution isn't coming, because we all see that this is coming. We all see that telepath war is coming. That's like the we look back and go, hindsight's 2020. We see that that's happening, but I don't know what's happening. All I can see is the black eyes and the people looking through the screen.
Yeah.
So you can't fault me for being weirded out by his cultish. I called him Koresh for a reason. Like, he is very David Koresh-ish, and he's very like cunning and very like, it's just, listen, I can't not know what I know. Again, I can't know what I don't know.
I completely get you. I swear I'm not like just trying to be devil's advocate, but I actually think, okay, how the sex scene was shot, whatever. That is two people with their walls completely coming down.
The sex scene was amazing. It's no.
But what I'm talking about is the memories and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So we're talking about the babies and tubes and stuff. Yes, that is something that is not something you want to see. But the whole point is she is sharing something with him.
Right.
That she has not shared with anybody.
Well, does she know that she knew that? Like, that's the question that I have is, does she even remember that?
Well, see, I think she does, because they're talking about it afterwards. He's like, so the Vorlons did this. Yes, they did. And here's what they did. And we already kind of knew that too, because we had heard it from other outsiders.
Right.
So I honestly see, and as I said, Byron was right. I think Lyta going to Byron and going to this group, you can call it culty, and in some aspects it absolutely is. Yeah. However, I have no qualms with what Lyta's done so far, because everyone else, as she pointed out, has shit on her. And the other thing, Nicole, and I get we're seeing from different lenses, I don't see the love bombing. I don't see it. What I see is the first group ever since maybe Psy-Corps initially that Lyta is being allowed into and respected and asked to be a part of a family. So how that's being used and why it's being used, you can look at it different ways. But for me, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see it as weird. I don't see it as creepy. That may just be me, but I don't see it that. I'm not traumatized by any of this.
Scott, I gotta agree with you. I'm not weirded out by it either. I think, and we've talked about this before, that Lyta has been really mistreated, and she goes over that with Zach in this episode. She talks about how she's been shit on and forgotten about, and not even Zach was willing to really do much for her. So, as you point out, this is the first group that has, taken her in and respected her. So I don't see it as weird. I agree with you, Scott.
I do love the irony of Nicole, the forever optimist, is the one arguing for this is red flaggy.
Yeah.
and me, the cynical asshole, I don't see red flags.
And that's why we're opposites.
Emily, what do you got?
So one of the reasons why I would expect Byron to become violent is that's not uncommon, because you have the creepy cult issues, but I would say too many women have had experiences with men where they try to do that false, calm facade, and then something shifts. And the look on his face was the something had shifted. And if you're not going to do pacifism, that's usually going to lead to aggression and violence.
Recognizing that I'm a male, so I have no idea the contextualized pieces of all of this. And I've worked in the DV field a lot. Can a person get upset without it being something like you're talking about? Can a person just get upset?
Yeah, they can. I mean, that is absolutely possible. It's when you add that with this weird culty vibe that's going on, it is really unsettling. And so if he becomes violent, I'm not going to be surprised.
I get you.
Like, it wouldn't be shocking. I'd be like, oh, well, I mean, it was kind of set up. He was on that path. Like, this is not a shocker.
I do feel, and believe me, I'm not power to misogyny or anything like that. But I do feel, and you all know me, that's not me. But I do feel that sometimes men are held to a different standard. And I know women are held to a different standard too. I'm not trying to do that. But to where we if we hold it all in and we are the calm pacifists, we're controlling. But if we are upset and we're saying that we want to, punch some walls, well, then we're violent. I mean, sometimes it's like, can we just be pissed off? Can we just be calm? Is it okay? No, it's not, Jessi.
It's not okay.
Nothing is okay.
It's not okay. It's not like when I speak my opinion, how I'm aggressive or I'm assertive or I'm this or that and the other. Like, let me just have my opinion. I don't have to be angry, you motherfuckers. Everybody on this podcast who calls me angry or tells me I need my meds because I express my opinions or I'm a little assertive. Everybody calls me angry. Bitch, I'm motherfucking me. I'm delightful.
To be clear, that's like
delightful.
4 members of our audience and they're all scared now. It's okay.
Right?
They should be.
Everybody on this podcast is terrified of me. We're moving on.
When she says that she's just a little, I think that might be an understatement.
No one on this podcast has said you're angry that much.
Nobody on this podcast. Listen, you guys. You guys have all compared me to Ivanova and
because you're a strong individual.
I'm a strong, independent.
Exactly.
Woman.
Is she more like Ivanova or more like Lockley?
I said back, I think in season 1 or 2, that she's more Lockley and she's going to have some issues. And guess what? We're seeing it. She's what I predicted is true. I fucking hate this Lockley chick. Uh-oh.
Well, and that's the thing is because I say the words fuck and I'm like, I joke about I'm strong. Like my opinion is strong. Then people call me angry. And it's like, motherfuckers, I'm not angry. I'm just speaking my opinion.
No, I hear you.
Anyway, moving
and
on.
That's kind of what I'm saying is I think we as a society, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of douche assholes out there, more than I would prefer. I'd like to beat them with a bat many times. But I think as a society, we make assumptions about, okay, again, if you're the calm, controlled person, well, then you're conniving. Or if you're the angry person, you're violent. There's no winning.
Yeah, there's no in between.
Nicole.
Well, as someone who's too loud and too much and too aggressive, I do have
too
one question.
Optimistic.
Yeah.
Too smash happy.
Yeah, I will say this. I've been told that I talk too much and I'm too loud my whole life. Well, I made a career out of it. So there you go. But that's not my point. I actually have a legitimate question. Okay, so in the beginning of the show, when they were talking about when the telepaths make love, their walls come down. So like what I understood or what I think, and maybe I'm wrong, so this is what I'm asking. When the telepaths are at that moment and they're having sex and they're sharing that, it's like you're not really thinking and like trying to control your thoughts at the moment. So they probably really have no, like, it just happens, right? The walls just come down because your brain's not on, oh, I got to keep them out. Right. So I would imagine that at that moment, she really had no control over holding that stuff in. And since they're telepaths, like they have to kind of like always be on or always hold stuff in or always not intrude on people's stuff. But like, I feel like at that moment where they climax or whatever, it's like there's really no control, and that's why they can see.
That's what Talia was talking about, is basically you become something else. You become all over the place.
Right.
Ha, ha, ha. But if you spend your entire life being told by the mundanes, the humans, that you must control everything, and you're being told by the Psy-Corps that you must control everything, I can see where telepathic sex is an aphrodisiac beyond anything, because it's the one time where you don't have to deal with the noise and the bullshit. You just let it all go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a release in mental and physical, and not to be coy, but like it's a release in many levels for them.
And I think probably the physical stuff is at a very low level for these guys, as opposed to the mental stuff. I'm thinking
I would not want anyone knowing that much about what's in my head. Like
no one does, Emily.
Just the thought alone, where like you can't because no one wants to know what's going on there. All right, no one needs to know that. So yeah, that would not work for me.
Based on what Nicole and I just talked about, I'm having I'm having the scene from Demolition Man in my head where they have the VR sex. God, I'm such a child of the 80s and 90s.
So is the remedy for that just to have sex with the TV on? Is that the way to do it?
Just, hey, are you speaking from experience, Kevin?
No.
I mean, is it a spicy scene in a show that helps?
That does.
Oh,
I mean,
as long as it's not the B5 fucking scene that we just saw today, I'm fine.
That would be a mood killer, wouldn't it?
The black eyes did it for me.
that's the experiment of the day. Who can get off to the B5 sex scene? Let's find out.
No.
Challenge accepted.
Here's what we do. Nicole's like all into this. Okay.
Already done. I won.
Your word of the Jesus.
Oh my God.
Your word of the day, folks.
If you Blake's face right now, because I'm pretty sure he just died.
Right, Blake's ignoring us.
Folks, your word of the day this time is just a simple yes or no. If you could get off to the B5 sex scene, you're a yes.
God, I don't need to know that much about our fans.
I want yeses and nos.
Okay, let's land this plane.
I'm a no.
I mean, if it's like Jakar.
We're talking about this one. We're not talking about Jakar.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a hard no.
I'm a straight individual and I could get off to Jakar. Let's be honest here.
Woo!
Okay, on that note, we're going to go ahead and, as Kevin said, bring this fucking thing for a landing or a crash landing, probably. I do want to point out that I do love the hosts on the show because only us can take the least ranked episode of the season that has an atrociously filmed sex scene and turn it into a 2-hour conversation on race, genocide, historical ethic violence. My God.
And why women are not angry bitches just because they give their opinions.
And why, if a man gets angry, it doesn't mean he's going to get violent.
Right, exactly.
I still have my conspiracy theories. Let's not forget that.
Oh,
Let's
yes. I'll get to that. Let's do the question and answers real quick. A question and prediction.
Yes.
So we will now go into question and predictions with our newbies. And for those of you who haven't joined us before, well, hi, how are you? This is us. Hi.
Sorry to see you go.
Our newbies have not watched past this episode, so we're going to ask if they have any questions lingering, and then ask if they have any predictions of what is going to happen next. And let's go to Jessi first.
My predictions are we never have to see another weird sex scene like we just saw. I have no question.
Is that a prediction or is that a request?
It's both. It's moving on.
Okay.
I would rather not. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. No, sir, may I not have another? Okay, Nicole, questions, predictions.
I guess my only question is this going to be the start of the telepath war? Is this going to piss them off enough where the war is going to start? Are they the ones who are going to start it? So I guess it's a 2-part question. And I still have a bad feeling that something's going to happen to Franklin and I can't shake it. And it makes me sad because I love Franklin. That's all I got.
Emily, questions, predictions.
Whatever happened to Lise? Are her and Garibaldi still together? Because it feels like there might be some sexual tension going on with Garibaldi and Lockley. And I mean, if they were going to go at it, hopefully it would be less awkward.
Emily, I love the fact that Lockley and Garibaldi were not in this fucking episode.
Right.
At all. Like, not even for a second were they in this episode.
Neither.
And your question is, are they going to shag? And where's Lise? Okay. Got it.
Will it be a threesome?
No, they're not Minbari, okay?
That's why I love Emily.
Anything else you got? You want to talk about McGrath or anything like that?
Actually, I do kind of agree with Nicole that there's something about the Franklin storyline that's starting to get unsettling.
We haven't had an unsettling Franklin storyline in at least 2 years.
Yeah,
So.
I am kind of worried about him with all this research and with how secretive one group has been so far about their history and trying to protect certain information. I'm assuming other groups will want to keep certain information under wraps as well, and that could prove dangerous.
And Justin, questions, predictions.
Okay, question 1. Was Lyta just augmented in one of those tubes, or was she actually grown in it? Like, is she a clone? That's my question for that. Predictions? I mean, we all knew that the telepath war was coming. We've talked about it for the last thing, so I won't go more into that. But in terms of actual predictions, I have none. Moving on.
And as we've been doing for the past few weeks, we have Jessi's Conspiracy Corner. So before we leave, Jessi, do you have conspiracies for us?
Does anybody respond to these when I do these?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Okay, Facebook is secretly a continuation of the canceled U.S. military program LifeLog. You're all welcome. 1947 UFO sightings by Harold Dahl. I don't know who this person is. He first reported that the Men in Black actually existed. So the Men in Black are an actual thing. Continuing on that, the CEO of Overstock.com was forced to resign after performing actions on behalf of the secret group Men in Black. You're all welcome. And Pokemon Go is just a government conspiracy to get the surroundings in all of the areas.
What
Did
the
you get an
hell?
answer
I've
to
heard that
the
one
Twitter
before.
one?
I've heard the Pokemon Go is a giant surveillance operation.
I'm just disappointed the Ghostbuster version only lasted like 6 months and they shut it down. That was fun.
No, I need an answer to the glitter conspiracy about the largest purchaser.
I need to know who that is.
I need to know because I need to know why they're trying to hide they're buying all the glitter.
Whores. It would be whores.
Whores, divorce.
Strippers.
The voice of God just said horse.
Are we talking about the stripper industrial complex?
No,
Like,
it
what are we
smells
talking
like
about
glitter
here?
and daddy issues. Leave them alone. There's a little vanilla thrown in there. Stripper. Moving on.
Oh, we wouldn't know how a strip joint smells, Jessi, would we?
I would never know that, Scott. I don't know what you're talking about.
Land the plane, please.
Yes, okay. Fine.
Land the plane.
It's already crashed, dude. We're just trying to bail out survivors, all right?
Okay, so that note, we will go ahead and leave it here for this week. And remember, your word of the day is yes or no. Did you or would you get off to the Lyta Byron scene? We will be back here next week to talk about, guys, the only episode in the past 2.5 seasons that was not written by JMS, and that is Day of the Dead. So looking forward to that one with you. It's an interesting one. Again, reminder to click all the buttons, visit us on all our social medias, like, subscribe, follow, and if you can, please leave a review. We'll be back after the credits with the first ones to answer these 4 questions and predictions and be done for the night. Until next week, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Mikey.
Yes.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
I'm Big Bear J-Boo.
Oh no.
Nicole.
Fuck, I honestly don't know who I am anymore.
That's Emily. And I'm Jessi.
And I wish I wasn't Kevin.
And he's questioning life choices.
Yeah.
We miss you, Mike.
Okay, newbies, get the fuck out.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Thank you for listening to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Grey17podcast or youtube.com @Grey17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Grey 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there?
The rim,
And beyond that?
the truth.
Welcome back to Beyond the Rim. Again, this is a spoiler section, so if you have not watched past Secrets of the Souls, you should leave now. If not, we're going to dive into the 3 questions and 1 prediction that our newbies had. They can talk for 2 hours about sex and violence, but we can't give any questions, predictions. It's great, guys. But let's go ahead and dive in first with, is this the start of the telepath war? Is Lyta and Byron knocking boots?
Say no. We're going to see a catalyst for the telepath war in a few episodes, but I would not put this directly among that.
It's a buildup.
Yeah.
Of course. And as I've complained before, and as people have complained all over the internets, we never get the telepath war. We get told about it. It's the biggest tease of B5. We don't see it. But this is the telepath crisis is what it's called.
Well,
And
my
it's-
guess is we would have gotten it, like you said, I think it was last week, Scott. that
Yeah.
we would have gotten it had TNT not completely fucked over Babylon 5, but that's an entirely different discussion.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if like the Drock issue was cleaned up in 2 or 3 seasons of Crusade and then we go into a telepath thing. I wouldn't doubt that at all. But that
Well, they
didn't
even
happen.
set that up in Crusade because the first officer was a telepath. So, I mean, they sort of set up that could relate into the telepath war with Crusade. And honestly, I would still like, because JMS has even said, regardless of anything that may happen with the series, there could well be more animated movies. That I would love to see him do an animated and look into the telepath war with an animated movie.
Fully agree. And tie in the Bester Garibaldi shenanigans in that. We have a good story. Okay, speaking of Garibaldi, where's Lise?
Mars.
Something that completely was not covered in this episode whatsoever, so I'm a little surprised by the question, but sure.
I'm not. It's Emily. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, she's running the company. She's running Eggers Industries, as we'll find out as we get deeper into the season, when Garibaldi gets called back to help run it as well. But yeah, she's alive and well. And
yes, and there will not be boffing between Lockley and Garibaldi.
I honestly, I know that we've talked about this with the newbies a lot, and I know again, this is, as we said, seeing through different lenses. I don't see sexual tension with Garibaldi and Lockley. I see a dynamic where they both respect each other's skills and personalities, and they clash a lot. But I just don't see the tension there. I saw the tension elsewhere with Garibaldi, but I don't see it here. I think Lockley is more, I don't know. I just don't see it.
I think I do, but I also know that nothing ever happens with it, so I do kind of ignore it. But I totally get where the newbies are thinking there is, because I think there is a little bit there.
And then the final question, was Lyta grown? Is she actually a clone?
I
don't
believe so, no.
I mean, you can infer that, I guess, because obviously they were breeding folks in tubes, but I think we take Lyta at her word when she comes back. I think season 2 or 3, she says it, is that she left herself in a escape pod in the middle of the space, knowing she was going to die, and the Vorlons picked her up and did things to her. So I don't think she's a clone. I think she's been augmented.
Yeah. Well, and we have discussions with Bester and others throughout the series that they talk about Psycor breeding programs to try to breed a telepath, which that's one thing. If we go to Byron's little launch of the revolution at the end, and he talks about how they could have lived normal lives. And to be honest, if the Vorlons had never tampered with people to create telepaths, the breeding programs never would have existed, and Byron wouldn't exist in the first goddamn place.
Yeah, that's the key too. I thought the exact same thing when he said that during the scene. I was like, the number of variables that have to, this is a Neil deGrasse Tyson thing, the number of variables that have to go into you as a person existing is astronomical. And that it clearly is the Vorlons seeding the population with telepaths is one of those. So you're right. I mean, he actually owes his existence, whether he likes it or not, to the Vorlon. Without them, he wouldn't exist. Okay, and then finally, the one prediction is the very same prediction we got last week. Franklin gonna die. Something bad's gonna happen to Franklin.
Nope. He is still living at the time of Road Home, so
yeah, he's one of like Garibaldi, he gets a happy ending, and they kind of become buddies and hang out together. And Franklin's going to teach on Earth and continue his study of basically what he's starting here, the study of all the cultures. So no, I think the high watermark for the Franklin character in terms of the arc was his working through addiction and figuring that all out. Now he's just kind of it's not like he's not developing, but he's kind of on a straight path. He's not going to have any kind of those major issues.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite Franklin moments came in the beginning, seeing how he stood up for his principles at the most important time, knowing what the consequences were going to be. That was a really cool storyline for him. I thought they brought him into that very well.
Yeah, we get that call back here with the conversation he has with the ambassador. I mean, her and Kieran don't know this, but Franklin's not just talking out of his ass. He will sacrifice himself to hold true to his ethics in terms of being a doctor, as we've seen. So,
which is generally how science fiction does portray doctors. At least that's one of the ways in which Star Trek is famous for portraying its doctors as being highly ethical.
Which is always, a good catalyst for good storytelling, because when you throw somebody, I think probably one of the best examples of that in Trek is actually Phlox and Enterprise. They threw a lot of ethical stuff at him over the years.
Yeah, I thought that was done really well.
And I would say also, too, with the Doctor and Voyager as well, too. He got a lot of good meat to chew on as well. So, anything else you guys want to talk about with this episode, this lovely, dank conversation?
Oh, I think we've beaten this one to death.
Well, let's just wait for next week when we get the Day of the Dead with good old Rebo and Zudi themselves. That's going to be great. Speaking of callbacks. Okay, until next week when we talk about Neil Gaiman, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Blake
and Kevin.
Please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, or we will never let Mike back. Bye.
I worked so hard to teach them, Lyta. I wanted so much for them to understand.